Yes. Here we are once again. You may be able to hear the sirens in the distance heralding the arrival of the High Noon Hemp Show. Of course, it means if you're watching the High Noon Hemp Show live, it's noon Eastern Time on a Wednesday. Probably watching us in one of three places: Facebook, the Temptations Beach Facebook page. Also, we have the Jedi Hemp YouTube channel, which has better video if you want to go that route, and Twitter/X, whatever you call it these days, at Temptations. Go check us out on there as well. Podcast, Podbean, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. Search the High Noon Hemp Show. I'm, of course, Stoner Jesus. You can search my various shenanigans on the interwebs. He is Beach. He is high above the Sharonville location at the Hemp Quarters. Beach, how are things this week in the world of Temptations?
The hemp alarms are going off for the High Noon Hemp Show. Welcome, everyone, to the High Noon Hemp Show. Alarms are make it official. It's true. This is the first Wednesday of the month High Noon Hemp Show, and they, every month they set off the alarms for us. I have to appreciate that. Letting everybody know in the greater Cincinnati area that the High Noon Hemp Show is on. I just hope that people realize that. Remember, folks, the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy. And it's true, I am high above the Sharonville locations in the Planet Everywhere studios, once again, for the High Noon Hemp Show. Let's go ahead and read. Let's do our pledge, because I pledge allegiance to the hemp fields of America and to the soil in which it is planted. One seed under the sun, with responsibility, sustainability, and thrivability for all. There you have it. Take a screenshot of that. Memorize it by next week so everybody knows it. Eventually, I will even have it memorized. I'm still working on it. It seems like, I should have it memorized by now. But, we just started doing the old pledge. I can't believe I haven't been doing it from the beginning. But it just took a visit from Coach Freddie to remind me that he wrote the pledge. And then just looking at my wall, where my pledge has sat behind me, right to the left of me for years and years and years. So there you have it. The good old iHemp Revolution Pledge of Allegiance. Hemp Pledge of Allegiance, we say. Sad news. The O'Brienville store is officially closed. But in the process, we were taking down the really good, nice sign that was on the side of the building. And what was left underneath it, and I had totally forgotten this, was the original sign that we had put up on the wall 25 plus years ago or so. And so, we had basically, I think the glue had worn off. We had used glue apparently for the new sign. It was screwed onto this, but the glue had worn off because it came, the new sign came right off. And I'll try to get a picture. I'm sure I thought I had shown the new sign, the vinyl, really nice sign. This was handmade by us. Once again, almost 30 years ago, 25 plus years for sure. If they didn't have the glue on it, I would have contemplated taking it as well, but it just looked so rough. I left it up there. I don't know how long I'm sure that they're probably trying to work on getting it off the wall now. So the new owners or whoever is taking over the building or whatever's going on with it doesn't have to look at it. But it'd be cool if they just kind of didn't even realize it was there and left it up there for a while, because you can still clearly see it's Temptations. Mm-hmm. The most important message: help the earth, use hemp. Still looks great. There it is, remnants of. And we have one of these here in Sharonville, I think, that they put out during the day. It's a temporary sign, not a permanent sign, because you can only have so much square footage of permanent sign. So, and I'm probably going to do the same thing. I'm starting having to do that with the really good sign now. It'll look so much better, and it's so much lighter, I think, than the one that we're dealing with. But that was, and I don't know. I feel like there is one sign kind of like this, but not as big, that would have been the original design. Now, I came up with this original design right out of the gate because I painted the original. I attempted to paint the original sign, which was probably about half this size when we very first opened. Again, not an artist, and so it looked like a sign made by someone that wasn't very artistic. And as they evolved, I allowed myself to let someone else make the signs. But this is my design. It's kind of funny how originally the original design had 4 leaves on it, which is the maximum amount of stores that we've ever had. We've had four Hemptations locations twice in the history of Hemptations. And so that was kind of interesting. But to help the earth use hemp, that was mine. And of course, Hemptations, that was mine. I remember the place where I was that's been about 28 years ago, probably, because I came up with the idea in the spring and then we opened up in the fall. But we were driving up the highway when I came up with the name. I think I talked about this on the anniversary show as well. But, I said Hemptations. I just kept saying Hemptations. And then I said having Hemptations, which, again, has become, one of our taglines, basically, or is our tagline, having Hemptations. And I just kept saying it over again, and I never looked back. I never tried to come up with another name after that moment. That was it. That's who we are. That's who we've been for 27 and a half years, and that's who we'll remain to be. So go to, and the new Hemptations.com website will be launch it today. I need to get it up and launched by the end of the month, and I might as well just go ahead and do it. I've got it pretty well designed and done. And so, hopefully the new Hemptations.com website will be up. But if you happen to drive by O'Brienville and the sign's still up on the wall, a little homage
That's right.
to that location and some of the original banners and posters and whatnot. So, all right, well, let's jump right into the product spotlight. We got a good show again today, of course, but let's get through the products. The first one is our Hemptations D8. Again, still decently popular. The D9 is kind of where people are kind of going now, but the D8's still there. It does what people want it to do. We've got the gummies in the tincture. And again, this is Kentucky grown hemp, Kentucky processed, manufactured CBD or Delta 8, and then made in Kentucky as well. We would make our products in Ohio. I need to put this disclaimer every time I talk about Hemptations products. People are like, you don't make your Hemptations products in Ohio? And I have to adamantly say no, and it's Ohio's fault. Because to manufacture any hemp goods, industrial hemp goods in the state of Ohio, you have to buy $1,000 license. Any product. If you're making a pair of jeans in Ohio out of hemp, you have to pay this stupid extorting. It's the state of Ohio extorting money from business owners. And so again, why wouldn't we go right across the river? Kentucky is one of the largest growers of hemp as it is. They only charge their farmers $35 a year to grow, whereas they charge farmers in Ohio $1,000 a year, and then they charge the manufacturers to make the products. And I mean, again, I want to know what's in their coffers, and I want to know what they're doing with that money to support the industrial hemp industry in the state of Ohio. They'll probably just tell you, well, we're using it on employees to make sure everybody's getting tested and paying their licensing fees. It's like a big circle of extortion when it comes to hemp in the state of Ohio because the regulations are just so ridiculous. So ridiculous. So anyway, that's our D9 or D8 products. We got some cold weather coming in this weekend. Going to get to 40. How about that? So breaking out the old beanie hats. I have to say that the north side location, I think, has a little bit better selection of beanie hats than the Sharonville location. So if you're, once that cold weather hits, remember, get into the stores and get yourself a nice warm hemp hat for the winter. I don't I have no for I don't know if it's going to be a cold winter because we haven't even gotten to fall weather yet. Apparently, it's coming, and we're going to get 70s, 50s next week, I hear. But this weekend, for some reason, there's a couple days where it's supposed to drop right at 40 as the low, and so which will might be kind of nice, like after all this totally hot weather. And again, we're still really kind of waiting for fall to show up. Um,
Mhm.
you know, I will have to say that this year has been one of the first years that I have noticed that the seasons are actually following the time period of when the seasons should happen. And I truly believe we had summer in summer, we had spring in spring. And I think if the fall weather hits next week, we're pretty close to having fall in fall. So that may mean that we may have a decent winter. Um, but it won't be here till December. It won't be here till January, which is usually, how it works. We'll see how October and November go. November can be a month where it can be like winter, or it can be like summer. I honestly believe that that's how it goes. Like I remember 3 years ago, the local ski place opened up by Thanksgiving, which was like miraculous. But normally they're not like even thinking about it until December because the weather just hasn't broken enough for them to make snow or to have snow. Um, so we'll see how it goes. But when winter does come, remember we've got a great selection of beanies, headwear for the colds, as well as scarves and whatnot. I'm sure you will see more of those the closer we get on the product spotlight to winter.
That's right.
Um, Big batch of Earthly Body made its way up to the Sharonville store and into the Northside store from O'Brienville. So there's a little bit more of that on the shelves these days, from hand wash to moisturizing spray to massage oil and all those good stuffs brought to you from Earthly Body. Earthly Body, again, one of the hemp companies that's been around as long as we have. I believe they were established, if I remember correctly, in 1995 as well.
Yep.
And a true hemp company. They've never diverted from hemp as one of the main ingredients in all of their line. And we truly appreciate that. And they make great products. It's true. And I'm sure you can find them online too if you really want to.
Mhm.
And the last one is the wallets. I think I think the wallet selection here in Sharonville is getting pretty dismal. Now with the selection, I think that we divided up between here and Northside, there's a pretty decent selection of hemp wallets. Oh, I sent the too funny. I sent the disorganized picture. I swear, I took a better picture. I had them all like in a row, and I had the hemp one so you could see that it said hemp on it.
Nice.
And apparently I sent the first picture that I took that I looked at, and I was like, well, that just looks like a big jumble of stuff. So, but you know what? It is a big jumble of hemp wallets, and it's a lot of neat designs either way.
Mm.
So, and again, those are mostly Hempstead, I believe. And again, that's a company that also I'm almost sure that Hempstead was formed in 1995 as well. Um, we still carry quite a bit of products from companies that were in fact around, have been around as long as we have. Um, and of course they were few and far between back then. Few and far between. I suppose that's why it's nice that a lot of them still exist. Trust me, over the years we have lost a lot of the original manufacturing companies of hemp goods, but some of them have stood the test of time because hemp can stand the test of time, and they make products that were worth it, and they're still on our shelves. 27 years later, 28 years later. So it's good stuff indeed. And the one from my door is my bath mitt, one of my bath mitts. The most particular thing is this is from the Body Shop. And of course, the Body Shop, in my opinion, um, was the first global or international company to put a line of hemp goods in their stores. And shortly after we opened, um, I would guess, if anything, it was probably around 98, maybe 2000. The Body Shop launched their entire line of hemp products, and still has those. As you know, there's still a section, as far as I know. I haven't been to a Body Shop in a while, but as far as I know, they still have their line of hemp cosmetics and lotions and all those things. And then, of course, they had bath mitts, not mats. I have some bath mats too. I need to find those. Get some pictures of them. But this is a bath mitt for scrubbing and whatnot. Works really well, really well. It's kind of rough, which is kind of what you want, because it's kind of exfoliates as well. I have a really soft bath mitt. It's kind of like a terry cloth almost material, which is also good. But I really like this one because, again, it is kind of exfoliating, clearing that dead skin as you're cleaning, and really getting in there. So there you have it, the Body Shop, my Body Shop bath mitt. Well used over the last. My hand's not quite big enough to get in it, unfortunately. So I think it's made for like a female hand. um, but I can still get half of my hand in there enough, which is really all I need to make it work, one way or another. So there you have it on the product spotlight. 4 from the store, 1 from my door. Da-da-da.
Indeed. Which of course brings us to
Dun,
our,
dun, dun.
at last I checked, as of yet, award-winning segment. And as you can see, Beach, you can see always as the top half of Beach, roughly, before we get to the segment. You may be wondering, hey, is Beach going fishing? I don't know. I'm just now realizing that the question I asked doesn't leave room for what are you doing, Beach? Because I'm just asking about the clothes, the beachwear segment, if you will. And I ask, what are you wearing, Beach?
I do believe. I know you're curious because you're saying, "What are you wearing, Beach?" I do believe that this is the first time I have ever worn a bucket hat, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do the show with the
So,
hat on or not. I almost did the show without a hat on, which probably also would have been a first. But um, uh, I do have a nice line of bucket hats, and I think I haven't worn them just because I wasn't sure about the headphones or anything. And it does kind of makes me look like a French, maybe a little, the way it's on my head. It's a little bit less bucket fishing looking. Like I should be making pastries or something, maybe. I don't know. But this is a classic Hempy's bucket hat. If I was going to the beach, I suppose my shoes are about the only thing in this outfit that I might not wear to the beach. But when I go to the beach, or if I know I'm going to be out in the sun on the boat, kayaking, um, my bucket hats get quite a use. And then of course I have my big. I'm gonna have to take a picture of my big brimmed hats. I know there's a name for them, and I can't think of what it is right now. Um, but it's more like that classic Australian
mm,
circular round hat. I haven't done those as "What are you wearing, Beach?" Because again, I'm sure my headphone. I don't know what that's really going to look goofy, but we'll see if I can't make that work soon, so you can get a good look at those too. I think I have the Hempy's bucket hats in just about every color that they make: natural, black, green, one way or another. The shirt there, embroidered here at the Planet Everywhere Manufacturing, is a hemp company. I'm sorry, the hemp company short sleeve button down, again with the Hemptations logo embroidered right there on my chest, close to my heart, as it should be. Shorts by Prana, being held up by Hempy's belt. So I got a Hempy's hat, a Hempy's belt. As you can see there, sticking out of the Prana shorts in my pocket is my Hemptations Green Spring Technology pen. Goes with me every day, everywhere I go. If I have a pocket to put it in, I carry that. I carry a Green Springs pen. I have a couple different ones. Underneath it all, pair of Satori boxer briefs, as well as Satori cantilever socks. And then on the old footsies, and I've been talking about these are part of the original super modified Adidas. Again, I have blue, black, and green, as you can see here, in this, which was possibly, I'm pretty sure, my first hemp gym shoes, actually sporting goods shoes. And again, I have them in all the colors. You can kind of see, if you look closely, how there's actually some holes finally starting to get in the front. It's starting to wear out. And again, these are every bit of 20 years old. I wore them quite a bit originally, because they were really my only options for shoes, as far as wearing hemp shoes, way back in the day. And, as I gain more hemp shoes, I've been wearing them less and trying to keep them in the best condition that I can. I did just find my sewing kit, so maybe I'll even just sew them up. I've been finding that quite enjoyable, sewing holes and fixing some of my old hemp clothing. And it's very, very little. I had to sew a button on a pair of shorts. I have one other pair of shorts I need to sew a button on. I've only had maybe a couple pairs of shorts that have gotten holes in them that need to be sewn. When the fabric is made right, it really does last for a super long time. So there you have it. If you're curious, what are you wearing, Beach? Now you know. It's a bucket hat. I don't know if it holds water or not, but it is a bucket hat. It's not 6 gallons. It's not 6 gallons. So, all right. Well, with the election coming up, I figured I'm going to go ahead and show this is probably one of my favorite commercials that we ever made. And again, this was made in a big election year. This is not a big election year, but it isn't a big election year in Ohio. And so we've got some pretty important stuff on the ballot here. So let's take a look at this hemp commercial. We'll be right back with the news.
What is your stance on hemptations? I am pro hemptations. I am anti-hemptations. It is said hemptations has the largest selection of hemp on the planet. Thoughts? My opponent would say food and fiber, but I say CBD and plastics. Simply not false. I would go on to add body products and paper. What's the one location you want everyone to know about? Well, they are all great, so start with the one closest to you. I say adventure out to the store furthest from you. Closing words? Use hemp to help the planet. Help the planet by using hemp. Having hemptations? I am having hemptations.
That also contained the new sign that I was just talking about that we pulled down and showed that image in the back there of that hemptation sign. So support hemp whenever you can. And support hemptations whenever you can. We truly appreciate it. And we thank you for watching the High Noon Hemp Show, however you're doing that. If you're doing it live, hi. If you're doing it later, hi. Either way. All right, well, let's get on to some news here and see what's going on in the big bad world of hemp this week. Manitoba Harvest. I talk about them a lot up in Canada. They're the largest supplier of hemp seeds in and on the planet, as far as I know. Is now offering what they're calling regenerative organic certified hemp hearts, and they're going to release these at Whole Foods, which is great. I think that hemp hearts is probably the singular hemp food that everyone should have in their closet. Spoonful a day, and I truly believe a spoonful a day, maybe two spoonfuls a day, would actually keep the doctor away. Hemp seed has some of the greatest health benefits of all the foods out there. That's one reason why it's called a superfood, not just because of its nutritional value, but because of its health benefits. Heart friendly, no cholesterol. I mean, there's just so many things about hemp hearts or hemp grain that's beneficial to therapeutic value beyond its nutritional value. And so I don't understand, if it's organic, I would have already thought it was regenerative, but I don't. I'm going to have to actually go and look and see what the true definition of regenerative means when it comes to farming, actual farming. Because to me, I would think that, again, if you're, not using chemicals in any way, if it's organic, that would be regenerative. But maybe there's something else that defines regenerative that I don't really, that maybe I've been misled about. Other than, it's something you can, plant over and over as opposed to one time. I don't know. So, but good for them. Again, Manitoba Harvest has been the top of the game for 20 years now, since Canada legalized, and then just started growing for grain like crazy for food products. My understanding is they still have a demand, and if you can grow organic hemp hearts or regenerative organic hemp hearts, I'm sure that they will purchase them from you, whether you grow them in the United States or not, because they need them to be packaged, because that's where people's minds should be going. Again, I'm almost more confused every day as to why we don't demand organic fruits and vegetables. Like every fruit and vegetable grown, we should demand that it's organic, because the chemicals that are used on these products are not good. We keep wondering, why does cancer keep getting worse? And again, I'm sure in some sense or another, if you started to really put things side by side, you'd see these increases in cancer from these increases in chemicals being used on our foods and blah blah blah. It's not blah blah blah. It's concerning, and it should be concerning to everyone. So many of us, I think, go to the grocery store, and I'm glad that people are buying fruits and vegetables instead of chips and cookies and the real crap that's unhealthy on top of unhealthy. But in the same sense, I don't want to eat a carrot that's had chemicals used on it to be grown. I don't want to eat an apple that's been sprayed with something so it stays shiny. I don't want to eat a banana, regardless of how thick that banana shell is, that's been sprayed by something so that it ripens faster, or whatever it is. And so, I realize that chemicals make it a lot easier to grow large amounts, and that's their argument. It's like, we can't grow enough food organically in the world. Okay, we can't grow enough food organically in the world to supply the world. But go back 50 years, go back 100 years before we were using herbicides and pesticides and enhancers and dehancers and all this other stuff that's being used on the food that we eat. And we were doing it. And again, it's like one of those excuses that if we just started, with it, I don't think anybody would starve if we just started moving that direction. And if it was hemp, if we grew more hemp, no one would starve, because it's one of the greatest foods we could supply to people without herbicides and pesticides and all the crap that's there. And so the more foods that we're making with hemp in them, the better chance we have of going in the direction of growing organically. Most hemp is grown organically by definition because it doesn't require any herbicides or pesticides. Okay, but the policy of labeling something organic says that the soil has to be organic. That's the issue. And so, again, it's not that they used any chemicals to grow that hemp grain, and so it's not organic. It's just they can't put it on the label because the soil itself isn't certified organic, which takes a long time. And if there was anything grown on that soil previously, then it would be even, it'd probably be tough to get it certified organic. But that's what you have to do, is you have to have certified organic soil to put. And I think that's why it doesn't surprise me that Manitoba's coming up with more and more organic, because the longer that they grow hemp, the cleaner that soil is going to get. And eventually they're going to be able to test it, and there aren't going to be any residual chemicals from any other plants that may have been grown in those fields previous to that. And so their soil slowly can become certified organic. Again, hemp is what we call a phytoremediator, and so it pulls out toxins and whatnot from the soil, cleans the soil as it's growing. And so eventually I would think that all hemp fields that soil would become testable to see that there's no contaminants in it above the level of what we would call organic, and it's organic. And I know that, that's been Manitoba's goal, is to increase their line of organic hemp hearts and organic, because it makes sense. It just makes sense. In Australia, they seem to be going bonkers over the hemp. And again, they just legalized, the entire country just legalized industrial hemp, I think maybe a year or two ago. Again, there were provinces or states, or I'm not sure what they call them, in Australia that were growing hemp, and it was legal, but it wasn't illegal, or it wasn't legal in the entire country, so to speak, until just recently. But there's a Western Australian fashion group now that's pushing for hemp to be used more. And I think that's because there's more hemp being grown. And again, even if they can go to the food, the grain, people growing for grain, say, hey, we want that fiber. It's short fiber. It's not, that long fiber, which makes for a better, stronger fiber, but that even the short fiber, is a lot stronger than your cotton, and, shouldn't have had any chemicals used on it. Again, when you grow for fiber, it's organic, same. You can't call it organic because it's a soil, but they don't use any herbicides or pesticides on that when it's grown for fiber either. And so, you might be able to call it natural. Those definitions are a little different. Natural only means you can have like 30% chemicals, which is scary. Because to me, again, you see natural on the label and you think, okay, well, that's good. But the natural label on food gives a certain allowable amount of chemicals to have been used in the growing or making of that food product. And so, although better than most, I would say, it still really should just be organic or nothing. Because, that percentage of whatever it was used in this natural product is supposed to be natural, so to speak. And natural sounds great, but that natural label is deceiving, because there is a certain amount of allowable whatevers that can still be in that food that is not natural and not digested by our bodies or probably good for us at all. So be wary of that natural. It's better, okay, but still not great. Not like organic. Organic really does mean something on a label. So, although I'll have to say the caveat with organic is it's a soil rating, so they could conceivably put something on it after. There's a weird line there too, but anyway. I'm sorry that I did not have this on the events. I will do a better job next year of letting everyone know when the Great Midwest Hemp Fest is. But they just had the 54th annual Great Midwest Hemp Fest in Madison, Wisconsin. Once again, I should have known about this. 54 years of the Great Midwest Hemp Fest. I bow down to the I should have known more, because that is a long time to promote hemp, and especially in somewhere like Madison, Wisconsin. Now, if my memory serves me correctly, Wisconsin was actually the last state to allow industrial hemp growing after the war ended. And so, again, industrial hemp's made illegal in 1937 with the Marijuana Tax Act. It's brought back to life during World War II with the Hemp for Victory video that implores American farmers. I mean, it's as important as trading in as much steel as you can, is to growing as much hemp that we can for the war effort. Parachutes, naval riggings, uniforms, all of those things. Super important. Okay. The same time period, Henry Ford builds his hemp car made out of hemp that runs on hemp fuel. Once again, to the natural resources of it all, and doesn't need to take the steel to make his cars. This is why one of the reasons why they came up with this plant-based car using hemp, was to put the steel towards the war effort. World War II ends. The growing of hemp goes back to basically what it was, which was illegal. Henry Ford says, well, I'm not going to import my hemp from China. I'm not going to import my hemp from Russia or anywhere else. And so we're going to go back to building steel vehicles. And the hemp car was never made. If industrial hemp would have never been made illegal, we'd all be driving hemp cars.
Yep.
We'd all be driving hemp cars. And there are vehicles going that direction. We're starting to see them. But I have to come up with a scenario, I suppose. Like there's some TV shows where the scenario is this event never happened. So what is the world like because this event never happened? Well, maybe I'll go back and never make marijuana illegal in the United States, with the emphasis of what would that have done to the industrial hemp, the environment, all those things, and how we would benefit from all of those things. Biofuel, blah, blah, blah. But good job. Great Midwest Hemp Fest. I look forward to the 55th annual Great Midwest Hemp Fest. I'm assuming that it's usually in October. We'll see. I don't know, but I'm gonna, maybe I'll make a trip to Madison, Wisconsin if they do the 55th annual Great Midwest Hemp Fest, one way or another. So we got a new T-shirt company coming. These are Cora Clothing, which I don't really know too much about. I've never heard of it. Again, they're a little bit expensive. But they are a fair trade clothing company, which I think is a good thing for clothing companies, because a lot of clothing is made in countries where people are poorly treated, and knowing that the people that made the shirts or grew the hemp or whatever were treated fairly means a lot. Honestly, I think that it does. It really does. And of course, they're more sustainable and things like that. And I think they even had like a really thin hoodie sweatshirt that was pretty nice as well. So again, that's Cora, Kora hemp, or Cora, I should say, Cora Clothing. They're not Cora hemp. They don't, but they're using hemp now in their clothing, which is another thing we love to see. More hemp clothing. Get rid of cotton. Bye bye. Speaking of that, French denim company Marmara, might be the first French word. I don't know if I'm probably still pronouncing it wrong somewhere. Mara. It's probably not pronounced Marmara. Who knows how it's pronounced because it's French. But they are looking to supply more manufacturers with hemp denim. And the rumor is that they supply Levi's with some of their denim. So, we're definitely seeing a lot of denim companies demanding hemp, or jean companies wanting hemp denim. Okay. Levi's doesn't make the fabric. They buy the fabric from someone else, obviously, and they just put it together. They stitch it and put their labels on it and blah, blah, blah. What was kind of disappointing, and I get it, is they did mention probably one of the greatest hemp myths. And I've done the research. And again, if anybody can prove me wrong that this is not a myth, I will wholeheartedly accept it. But I have to see actual, like, something from the Levi's company from 100 years ago that says like they bought, I don't care, hemp, whatever, because I've done the research and I have yet to find actual proof that the first jeans or that Levi's early jeans were made out of hemp. Okay. Now, there is an argument that does make sense that original, like, gold rush people, so to speak, their pants may have been made from hemp because they went out to California for the gold rush with their hemp covered carts and whatnot. And then they took that hemp and made it into pants. And they would have liked that because they could take that rock or whatever and put it in their hemp pants, and they'd hold together because hemp was, 100% hemp canvas is super strong. And so I think that that's how the myth got started. Okay, somehow I believe, yes, some gold rush people or panners were, making hemp pants out of canvas and wearing them. And Levi's, once again, the reason that Levi's were so popular, and because they added the rivets, okay, and the rivets kept the pockets together, which was very important to, once again, those painters that were out there stuffing their pockets with rocks, whether it was gold or not. Anyway, if they saw a little speck of gold, and that rock went in the pocket until they could break it open, whatever. And so, I think that's where there's a correlation between hemp and Levi's and the gold rush and strong pants. But again, Levi's made their mark because of their rivet. They added the rivets to the pockets, and that changed the jean game as far as strength of pocket. And that's really why Levi's won the jean game 100 years ago or so. In all honesty, there's a lot of people making jeans, which comes from France. There's a city in France, Ajajin or something, where the original denims were being made. The denim fabric was being made. I'd like to believe that, again, and I haven't really come across anything. I think me and my brother may actually have to go tour some places in France so he can read the stuff because I can't read French. And just see which one of those denim companies may have been using hemp, if any, and there probably weren't any. They were probably using cotton or flax, but it's hard to say whether they were actually using denim years ago. France is wholly into hemp now, as you can see, and they were, again, the French was the only country in the world ever to never make industrial hemp illegal. So they never stopped growing industrial hemp. And part of that was because of the paper, because that's a huge, huge, continuing to this day, it's actually cigarette paper made from France, and made in France, I should say, and using industrial hemp, using hemp. That is a fact. So, all right. Well, apparently the OxyClean dude got into growing hemp, and in a ironic twist of things, his warehouses were flooded. So there was the big river flooding in July in Vermont. This is in Vermont. The Winooski River flooded in July, and apparently it wiped out his warehouse. And what I think is interesting is, like, part of this when they were describing it was there were plastic bags full of hemp floating down and all up on the banks of the river when it went back down. And I'm like, why is he keeping his hemp in plastic bags? That's like the first thing I thought of was, what the hell's going on? Just, stuffing their hemp in the plastic bag. What is that? Like, and again, it was CBD. I don't know. They didn't really say what he was growing this hemp for. He did say that they're going to be back next year and, bigger, better, badder, with their hemp fields, and maybe storing it in a better way to begin with. I don't know. Because again, if it wasn't in any bags, there would be it would just be natural debris, just floating on down the river and whatnot. But so anyway, it's kind of funny. That's what one of the funny things is like famous person, the headline is famous person, and then it was the OxyClean guy. So anyway, everybody's getting into growing hemp, and I'm okay with that. Except for, when things, of course, you can't see a flood happening and wiping out your warehouse, but that's just nature being nature, especially in July. But that's what happened. And again, there's probably some flash flood in Vermont. Vermont, a beautiful, beautiful state. I don't know how much hemp you can grow there, though, because it's pretty much just forest and hills and whatnot.
Yeah.
But apparently, enough that people can complain about how it mucked up the river when it got flooded, one way or another. So, I had mentioned that Cornell had their field day, obviously growing hemp at Cornell University, and they had a field day for it. They actually, part of something to come out of that, was the fact that they discovered the gene in hemp that fights powdery mildew. And powdery mildew, if there's anything that can really probably harm the plant. And again, when you're growing, I want to be clear here, if you're growing for grain or you're growing for fiber, powdery mildew would not affect that. If you're growing for flour, and we all know, everybody who's growing for flour knows what powdery mildew, how it is, yes, not good. And so between powdery mildew and spider mites, those are probably the two things that can affect the outcome of cannabis when it's grown for flour. So if you're growing for CBD, CBG, CBN, or whatever, and that's why growing for the flower is still a daily farming event or a horticulture event, not really farming. The thing that's interesting about this, and of course, they go on to say that now we can breed the plants that we know are heavy in the gene or have the gene, the cultivars, I should say. Cultivars is the specific, like Futura, that's a cultivar of hemp. And there are over 200 or so recognized cultivars across the world. And I'd say that those are growing probably every day as we are now coming up with new cultivars of cannabis for whether it's fiber, grain, or the flower. Of course, and they call it a strain. When you're going for the flower, people more refer to it as a strain. And there are thousands of those flower strains. Hundreds of cultivars for industrial hemp purposes, more on the grain and fiber again, not the flower, but thousands of strains. And again, they're coming up with new ones every day as they are breeding the THC out of a strain to make it a CBD industrial hemp plant. And so, it's This affects breeding in a great way, no doubt about it. Here we go with, all of a sudden we're going to be doing some gene splicing. I can see the big M. This is something they're rushing in. They're like, holy shit, there's a gene that does something that we could change the plant. We can make it ours, and no one else can grow it, and we can take complete control over this great plant. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Nope.
I'm sorry I cussed. I think that was the third time, but I tell you I just have to think of the first letter of the name of that company and see what it does to me. But anyway, there was already rumors of genetic engineering, which is different than genetically modifying, because we can genetically modify something through breeding, which is what we've done with industrial hemp. So genetically modifying can be used, in a sense, it's natural. Okay, genetically engineering, which is to me gene splicing, taking a gene from one plant or animal and putting it into another plant or animal to get that benefits. And I'm not saying it's wholeheartedly bad. It's wholeheartedly bad the way they're doing it. But I'm sure there are benefits to that somehow anyway. But now, and again, that's what makes cannabis the great plant that it is that we can change it so radically, from its height to its width to its grain production to its fiber, the high fiber production, flower, just with breeding, just by taking that male and the female and letting them do their thing. And and we're still figuring it out. This specific male germplasm has this effect on this specific female flower, or grain production, I should say, because that's what happens. You add the germplasm of the male to the female plant, and then it produces the grain, the seed. And then you start with your cloning and all that other stuff after you've got the plant where you want it. And we haven't stopped, and we're not stopping, and there will be no stopping, because now we're going to be genetically modifying through breeding to get bigger grain, better grain, stronger grain, taller plants. We start really breeding the cannabis that we know grows tall. And I think it was Hemp Traders. They just were part of Hemp for Fiber, and I think that they were 23 feet, which they're establishing as, again, the tallest hemp plants, but 23 feet tall. So that's a 20-foot plus piece of hemp fiber running from the ground to the top. And again, that's what makes it so strong. And that to me is just, unbelievable, man. I really wish that I would have gotten to go tour that field, just to stand beside a 20-foot plus tall hemp plant. Because from the beginning, that's what we've always said about if you're going to grow for the fiber to make material out of, that's what you want. Taller the better. We get 30-foot. That's a goal, maybe. 30-foot tall hemp plants. And again, just keep breeding these plants we know grow tall, and that's what will end up happening. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Looks like North Carolina passed some hemp regulations in their House. I don't know if they haven't gone all the way through yet, but it seems to have quite a bit of support. And this is all over THC content, which is like final product. You can only have a maximum amount of, I think I saw 3 milligrams. Also age limits of 18, which on CBD products is kind of ridiculous in my opinion. It just means that parents are going to have to come in and buy their kids CBD products if their kids use CBD for any reason, mostly for anxiety and whatnot. And then, of course, it's going to add some type of new licensing. So if you sell any industrial hemp products or CBD, I don't even know. Is it going to be hemp genes? Probably. Somehow the way the law is written, they're probably not going to realize that when they pass this, you're going to have a license to sell hemp genes or hemp food at the grocery store. But everybody that I guess at least sells CBD, and I'm going to have to look into this a little further, is going to have to buy a special license to do that, which again is just, it's extortion. It's extortion by the state, in my opinion. If I don't have to have a license to sell Coca-Cola, and I can sell Coca-Cola to a kid, there's no reason why I should have a license to sell CBD products. And to be honest with you, be able to sell CBD to kids. And to the uneducated, that probably sounds horrific. It's like, did that guy just say we should sell CBD to kids? Yeah, it's 100% safe and probably can help them quite a bit for whatever reason that they think they may need CBD for. And so, I just had some parents of a child who is just, running around like crazy all the time, and they can't get him to go to sleep at night and things like that. Um, and they're using CBD, and I think it's helping. And it may just be a little bit because I told them just a little bit just to see. Um, and so, there's no harm. I truly believe a child could eat a whole jar of our CBD gummies and take the nap of its life, but it's not going to kill the kid. It's not going to cause any long-term damage. And so, again, the age restriction things is this. It's like a moral. It says those morals talking faster than reality, because the reality is it's not harmful to kids. So you shouldn't have age restrictions on it. Now, my opinion may change when it comes to Delta 8 or Delta 9. Because that's different, because those have side effects. That I'm not saying the kids shouldn't have it, but maybe more regulated. Yes, yes, maybe the parents should in fact be purchasing those if they want to try to use those for their child if they think they need it. It's a medicine, folks, and it's a medicine in over 45 states in the United States, and used by millions and millions of people, whether it's CBD or THC or Delta 8 or whatever. That's the truth of it. I remember years ago someone said to me, all cannabis use is medicinal. And it's true. All cannabis use is medicinal. Hey, how about our old Kent State University here in the good old Ohio? A new study shows that CBD works for exercise recovery, lactic acid buildup, and muscle repair, which are all good things, apparently. So, Kent State University athletes, they're all going to be using CBD soon enough. Watch out for them. And these are things that we're seeing, of course. It doesn't have to be ingested. Even a CBD cream put on, joints and whatnot, anywhere you may have inflammation after a workout is beneficial. It's going to help with the recovery of that workout or event, whatever it may be. It's from remember the fighter 2 or 3 years ago who got in trouble. He briefly got in trouble because after the fight, they're like, "Hey, what are you vaping?" And he's like, "CBD." I'd say I recommend every fighter in the country or in the world use CBD. Blah blah blah. And then he got in trouble because at the time, they thought CBD came from marijuana, or all CBD came from marijuana. They didn't know, and so he actually got suspended for like a month and then once again proved that it has nothing to do with marijuana, 100% legal. And now probably a lot of fighters are in fact using CBD for recovery, because it doesn't make them fail a drug test. They would like to be using THC Delta 9, trust me, just like football players would, and a lot of other athletes, instead of pain medicines. And we're slowly getting there, but we're not even close because the federal government has to legalize cannabis before, say, the NFL says it's okay to use it. Now, they might stop testing, which is what the NBA did. And I think the MLB, the Major League Baseball, I believe they stopped testing for Delta 9. But You probably can't tell them that you use Delta 9 or, talk about it because it's still probably in their policies that it's not, acceptable. They just don't test it. And so that's like saying we don't care if you use it one way or another. I don't think the NFL's there yet, but there is serious discussion, serious discussion on, the anti-inflammation properties alone. I think from Delta 9 and CBD, are well worth it. So we'll see that, but that research is going to help. That research is definitely going to help. So thank you, Kent State University, for looking into that one. Research also has shown that using CBD at night significantly increases its capacity to lower blood pressure and treat hypertension. Which, I did just recently, and again, this very well could have been the same study that I was just talking about that proved, but no, this is different because this is talking about at night. Now, but basically, the other study proved that CBD seriously helps lower blood pressure and sustain lower blood pressure. So it's not like it just brings it down and then it goes back up, and it actually helps sustain a lower blood pressure. And so it doesn't surprise me, but they definitely are now looking into time of day and efficacy when it comes to with CBD and all these others. Like, if you take it in the morning, does it do the same thing as if you do take it at night? And apparently this one's showing that if you take it at night, it's definitely good for lowering your blood pressure and treating hypertension. That being said, be careful if you are on blood pressure medicine to not use too much CBD, because then it will affect. We are finding that there are, just like this. There's no doubt in my mind that if you're on blood pressure medicine and then all of a sudden you're using a bunch of CBD, you may drop your blood pressure too much. Okay, obviously consult your doctor. Hopefully he's cannabis friendly and he's not going to lie to you and be like, "Oh no, you need to stay on these pills. Don't rely on that CBD stuff."
Yeah.
Because again, who are they beholden to? They're not beholden to the CBD industry. They're not beholden to nature. They're beholden to the pharmaceutical companies. And of course, they'll tell you they're not beholden to anyone, but that's how it usually goes down. If you have a cannabis friendly doctor, and more of us are finding cannabis-friendly doctors, hopefully they'll be like, okay, well then let's do this. Let's cut your blood pressure medicine a little bit and use the CBD, and then see what happens. Get tested, or cut out the blood pressure medicine. Get on a daily dosage of CBD, and we'll test you and see if it's really helping your blood pressure or not. I mean, you still got to come back to the doctor, so they should be like, hey, that's another visit. You got to come back so we can make sure we can test you and, charge you for the blood pressure test and all this and all that. Problem is now you're looking at an insurance issue. Because they're not getting, all of a sudden you're getting prescribed, and I put it in quotes because you're not really getting prescribed. You're just being told that, yes, you could do this. And the insurance company is like, well, we don't cover CBD. We'll cover your pills all day long. We'll help you pay for those. And once again, Walgreens will help you pay for your pills. They'll put you on a special program so that they're cheaper somehow. But they're not going to give you something off their CBD. I don't even know if they have it in a form yet, other than a topical, which I think is, once again, kind of interesting. But that's the FDA's fault. That's why the pharmacies haven't gotten really into the tincture or the gummy part of CBD. It's because they're kind of still afraid of suggesting you should use it ingestibly when the FDA has not approved it, so to speak, as GRAS. And I think that's the issue there. But they were quick to put the cream on the counter, and I bet they probably sell a decent amount of CBD cream one way or another. And I don't know if I'm gonna have to go check and see if they even have a tincture or a gummy on their shelves. I'm going to still say probably not at any of the major pharmacies. Which is, again, it's like I said, it's a good thing, bad thing. It's, that's good for us. That's some major companies that we don't have to compete with. But it's bad for the consumer because again, it should be on the shelves everywhere for everybody to be able to use, because it does do what people want it to do. An Australian primary hemp. They're called primary hemp. They unveiled. I don't know if it's a day late and a dollar short or not, but it's definitely a day late, in my opinion. But they've actually not really. They've unveiled hemp PPE, and they're doing a face mask and a hemp infused hand sanitizer. But the face mask, the picture, and I don't know if they didn't say that it was specifically the hemp mask that they were making, so I'm not sure. But it looked just like the medical ones. It was riveted, just had the little kind of rubber bandy things that go around your ear. The ones that all the hospital uses, the ones that we couldn't find because there was a shortage for so long. But again, making that out of hemp material has bonus health benefits because hemp material is antibacterial, antimicrobial, and this is proven. This is why doctors and nurses' uniforms should all be made out of hemp because it's a cleaner material, and it actually is proven to fight bacteria, and it is antibacterial. It's antimicrobial, and so it's just a superior material for hospital wares or health whatnots. The hand sanitizer, I don't know how much of a benefit other than the hemp in the hand sanitizer. The hemp in the hand sanitizer may offset the negative effects that the alcohol, which needs to be there to clean, has on your skin. Because I think that alcohol dehydrates the skin. And the hemp would rehydrate or put nutritional, proteins, omega-6, omega-3, vitamins, minerals back into the skin to keep it healthy. There's definitely a fine line there between the benefits of the hand sanitizer and what it can do to the skin. All in all, I think. But it's a much needed thing in a lot of places, and I think we're still trying to be hand cleaner in the world these days. But I also think that less and less people are carrying again, and you're kind of going back to where we were. Whereas if we really want to fight these flus and these colds that come around every year, again, we should all be washing our hands more. If you're going out in public, just wash your hands before you go. Because it is just a proven. It is proven that simply washing your hands can keep the whole world healthier, one way or another. So, alrighty. Don't have too many events. If you haven't planned to go yet, you still got a week. You can probably get there. But October 10th and 11th, you got the International Hemp Building Symposium in Amsterdam. Once again, if you've never been to Amsterdam, there's probably no better reason to go than now, just to enjoy the whole atmosphere and go to the Hemp Building Symposium. They're going to be showing off the new Herdmaster MD 1000 Air, which is going to be a what they're calling a micro decortator, which is the machine that breaks the hemp stalks and divides it down into the basically the three parts. Which is, of course, I think the leaves, they probably leave the leaves on there too, so it breaks them down too, but, breaks down the herd, breaks down the fiber, you end up with lignin, which was originally what was keeping it all together, and I believe acts as a glue, but it's actually a powder when the plant has died and then been dried, so to speak, and then runs through. And I think that's why, again, the plant has to be dried or super dead before it even breaks down quickly because that lignin is in there with moisture acting as a true glue, like a super strong glue. And I've always thought, because I know that lignin is another byproduct, that if they can't figure out how to make some like super strong natural bonding agent with that lignin, they're not trying hard enough. Just flat out not trying hard enough. And so, that's a byproduct that's another byproduct that I don't know that there's a whole lot of uses being for. I don't know if it was just a waste product before they just swept it off and threw it away or what. I mean, but yeah, and then there's also going to be a field trip to a massive hempcrete casting project, which should be kind of interesting as well. Just to, I'm sure you're just going to see how they make hempcrete blocks or into hempcrete and whatnot. But pretty cool. And then October 31st, that's right, Hempoween, we're going to call it. We're going to call it Hempoween this year because the marijuana meetup costume or posthum party is going to be that night. Normally, the medical marijuana meetup here in Cincinnati is the first Tuesday of the month, but in October, because Hempoween is on Tuesday, they're going to do it on Tuesday. So those happen at the Mad Tree here in Cincinnati. Again, start coming up with there is going to be a posthum. I'm still trying to get it right. Competition, and so you may win something for your posthum or cannabis themed outfit. Again, I gave away one of the only ones that was really cannabis derived, but I went one year as a pot-bellied pig. I thought that was pretty. It's pretty genius of me. Pretty genius of me. And of course, my outfit was made out of hemp material, and then I had hemp leaves on my belly. It was somewhat simple, but I think I did a good job. So there's a picture. I'm gonna have to find that picture of me in my pot-bellied pig costume, one way or another. But again, that's Hempoween, October 31st, the medical marijuana meetup here in Cincinnati. The Mad Tree usually starts, I believe, around 8-ish. Is the time. And so we'll see. Is it going to be cold? Is it going to be warm?
Yeah.
Way too early to tell. I've taken the kids trick-or-treating here when it was snowing. I swear. One year it snowed on Halloween to where it was like the summer day. So it's usually, if anything, rainy. But again, it could be cold rainy, like 40s and rainy, or it could be 70s and rainy. But anyway, start getting your posthum party, your posthum ideas now for that. Should be fun, no doubt about it. All right, well, thanks everybody for watching today. Remember, reduce, reuse, recycle. Make everything else out of hemp. Having Temptations.
See y'all next week.